Hello, I'm Steve Sellers. I'm the writer and co-creator on White Druid and Michael Nero. And today we're going to be taking a little bit of a different stance to where we've gone like the last few videos that I've done for you. And today we'll be looking into tragic backstories, kind of the basic principles. This is probably going to be like a multiple part series, not very long, but definitely going to take more than one part to really get into in a way that's meaningful to you. And what we want to talk about is how the tragic backstory works, what it does and doesn't do, what the potential pitfalls are perhaps, and how we use it in Omen comics, how we think about backstories when it comes to our characters and how it affects their motivations, how it affects their role in the story, that sort of thing. Today we're going to at least get more into the nuts and bolts of how it works in theory, and then in the later parts we'll go into the other stuff. Okay. So the idea is with backstories that they're meant to inform character, they're meant to explain things, certainly, but it also helps to drive the character. It creates motivations in some cases, and the idea is to give you story possibilities for which to explore, so that you can deepen the character and work in that way. So the idea is, firstly, that the backstories add to the character. Okay. So one example I like to use is the example of the Hulk, where originally, he was just, a gamma scientist, and the power that he got from the Hulk, and the personality changes, came from the gamma explosion and all that. Later on, it was revealed that it was in fact a psychological problem that he had, and the psychological problem, basically what became dissociative identity disorder, was caused by the fact that Bruce Banner was abused by his father, who ends up being kind of a recurring nemesis throughout his history, and that definitely comes back if you read Immortal Hulk, for example. Okay, so the idea is that the deepened backstory, the abusive background explains the multiple personalities, and then you can use that to develop different personalities for the Hulk. You can use that to sort of bring the abusive backstory in a way that you can tell new stories with, that kind of thing. And I think if you look at Immortal Hulk, if you've been reading that, you get an idea of how that would work. Okay. They can build motivation. Generally, oftentimes it's used to create regret, for example. If you look at characters like Iron Man or Spider-Man especially, you begin to see how decisions that the character made in their past drives what they do in the present story. So if you look at Spider-Man, the fact that he at first wanted to be a celebrity when he got his powers, and it was the death of his Uncle Ben and his mistake or refusal to stop the burglar that killed him, not knowing that he would kill his Uncle Ben, that created the guilt that follows him to this day. So this is a life defining moment that was created by that tragedy. Okay. So you can also look in terms of that. A lot of times they can teach important life lessons. Again, the example of with great power comes great responsibility. The idea that Peter Parker hadn't learned that. And so because of this, he has to learn that lesson to be a hero. But you can also definitely see it in a number of other characters as well. Okay. Tragedy can cause a character to grow and mature. I like to use Jon Stewart as an example of this. He used to be cocky. He used to be kind of a bit arrogant. And if you've read the story Cosmic Odyssey, this is kind of where he starts to change, because he was responsible, kind of loosely, for the destruction of a planet called Zanshi, which he was trying to save from this being called Anti-Life, which had built a device that was going to destroy the planet. The problem is that the Anti-Life being realized that Green Lantern was after it, so it was it colored the machine yellow. And because of this, Jon Stewart couldn't do anything to it with his ring, and he didn't have enough time to destroy the device before it went off. And because of this, Stewart became more of a perfectionist. He became more regretful. He became, a character that was much more seeking of redemption and more of a perfectionist after that. So, characters a lot of times change and grow with dramatic backstory moments like that. And also, tragic backstories in general, but especially tragic backstories, can be used to humanize characters. So if you look at the example of Iron Man, who is a rich businessman and, is kind of living, a life, that seems to be on the outward perfect, until, he ends up getting caught on a landmine. You probably have seen the first movie, and you see how that works. The idea that, he realized that his technology was used for evil, and so he had to use it for good and develop a social conscience. So when we're looking at backstories and what they're meant to accomplish, we're kind of looking at it in terms of those things mainly. You want to think about how that functions for your character. You want to think about, how all these different principles come together, like in your favorite heroes. If you look at a character like Nightwing, is the deaths of his parents, drive him as much as Batman's. All these kinds of examples that you can kind of see how they inform the character, and then you want to see, what you can do to make your characters more interesting, whether that's adding something to your hero's backstory or developing it further in other ways. So I think we'll go ahead and leave it at this for now, but we will definitely explore in more depth, how it works for Omen and what our own approach to backstories and how we develop backstories is. So until then, this is Steve with Omen Comics, signing off.